Welcome to the deep dive. So, you've brought us the Personal MBA. It's a really interesting resource.
It is.
And our mission, basically, is to uh, dive into it, pull out those key insights, the core knowledge you need about how business really works.
That's the plan. This book, it really tries to cut to the chase.
Yeah,
The argument is, a lot of business complexity, it kind of boils down to a few key ideas and, well, common sense.
a healthy dose of common sense, yeah. It's quite refreshing, isn't it?
It is.
The idea that maybe you don't need that traditional formal MBA to get the fundamentals.
Exactly. But, there's still a lot in there. It can feel overwhelming.
For sure. So that's where we come in.
Right. Think of this as your curated guide. We'll pull out the essential nuggets, the stuff you really need from the Personal MBA.
Okay, sounds good. Let's get into it. The book kicks things off with something pretty fundamental. What is a business, actually?
Yeah, Paul Fried's definition, he breaks it down into 5 parts.
5 parts. Okay, what are those building blocks?
Right. So Fried says a real business isn't just like a one-off thing. It's a process. And it needs these 5 things.
Okay.
First, you got to create and deliver something of value. Makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Second, it has to be something other people actually want or need.
Want or need.
Right.
Third, they need to be willing to pay a certain price for it.
A price they'll actually pay.
Exactly. Fourth, the whole experience, getting it, using it, has to satisfy their needs, their expectations.
Customer satisfaction. Got it.
And fifth, critically, it has to bring in enough profit, enough to make it worthwhile for the owners to, keep going.
Enough profit to keep the lights on, basically.
And then some, hopefully.
See, when you list them like that, it feels almost obvious.
It does, doesn't it? But the key thing is all 5 have to be there.
All 5. What if one's missing? Like, profitability.
Well, then it's not really a sustainable business, is it? It might be a great hobby or maybe a nonprofit.
Or just an idea that doesn't quite fly.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It won't be a business in the long run without all 5. And this is where the book sort of prompts you, the listener, to reflect.
Yeah, put on your thinking cap, look at your own job, or maybe a side hustle, or a business idea.
How do these 5 parts show up? Or any shaky?
It's a quick diagnostic, really, like the questions for consideration in the book. Helps you spot weaknesses.
Okay, so building from those 5 parts, the book talks about economically valuable skills.
Right, and they tie directly back.
How so?
Well, if the business is a machine with those 5 parts, then economically valuable skills are like the tools and abilities that make each part work well.
So it's not just being good at something random.
No, it's about skills that contribute to creating value, delivering it, pricing it right, satisfying customers, making a profit.
So, okay, take a chef. Great skill, cooking.
Amazing skill. But is it economically valuable on its own? Maybe not.
Okay.
The economically valuable skill might be menu costing, or marketing the restaurant, or managing staff efficiently, things that drive the business.
Got it. So focusing on skills that directly feed into those 5 core processes makes you more valuable.
Bingo! That's the idea. Improve skills that help the business function and profit.
So again, a prompt for the listener. What skills do you have now that fit?
Mm-hmm. And maybe,
Yeah.
what skills could you develop?
What would really move the needle in terms of economic value?
Exactly. Connecting personal growth to business fundamentals.
Okay, let's dig into that first part, creating value. Specifically, something people want. There's a Paul Graham quote in the book.
Yeah, the make something people want one.
Right. If you find something broken that you could fix for a lot of people, you found a gold mine. Pretty direct.
Very direct. It really highlights the importance of finding unmet needs, real problems.
And to understand those needs, the book dives into these 5 core human drives.
Yeah, these are powerful motivators behind pretty much all our decisions.
Okay, what are they?
So first, the drive to acquire. We want
Uh-huh.
physical things, status, knowledge.
Right, acquiring things.
Then the drive to bond. That need for connection, relationships, belonging.
Community love, yeah.
Third, the drive to learn. Curiosity, wanting to understand, master skills.
Always learning.
Fourth, drive to defend. Protecting ourselves, our family, our resources, our beliefs.
Defense, security.
And fifth, the drive to feel. Seeking pleasure, excitement, good emotions, avoiding pain.
Feeling good. Okay, acquire, bond, learn, defend, feel.
Those are the big ones.
So when we're creating an offer, we should think about which of these it taps into.
Absolutely. And even better, can it connect to more than one?
Okay. Multiple drives?
The more drives your offer connects with, generally, the more appealing it's going to be. Think about social networks. They hit the drive to bond hard, right?
Definitely.
And maybe learn, maybe acquire status.
Interesting. And beyond those 5, the book also mentions status seeking.
Yeah, that's almost a universal layer on top. We often make choices based on how it affects our perceived status.
So we need to think, does our offer potentially increase someone's status?
Or decrease it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a subtle but powerful factor in how things are received.
Okay, so we've created something valuable linked to human drives. Now it needs a form, something people will actually pay for.
Right. The book lists a whole bunch of these forms of economic value.
Well, let's run through them.
Okay, you've got the obvious ones. A product, tangible item you sell.
Like a book or a chair.
Exactly. Then a service, you do something for someone using your skill.
Like consulting or fixing a car.
Right. Then a shared resource. People pay for access to something durable.
Like a gym membership or a tool library.
Perfect. And then subscription paying recurring fees for ongoing benefits.
Software as a service, streaming. Very common now.
Very. Then there's resale. Buying low, selling high.
Classic retail. Or flipping houses.
Yep. Lease letting someone use your asset for a fee. Like renting equipment.
Got it. What else?
Agencies selling something you don't own for a commission.
Real estate agents, talent agents.
Audience aggregation. Build an audience, sell access to it. Think media companies, influencers.
Right, selling ads or sponsorships.
Then more financial ones. A loan, lending money for interest.
Banking, basically.
And options selling the right to do something later for a fee.
Stock options or deposits on future purchases.
Insurance transferring risk for payments. We all know that one.
Yep.
And finally, capital buying an ownership stake in a business. Venture capital, stocks.
Wow, okay. That's way more than just product or service.
It really broadens your thinking about how to offer value, doesn't it?
Definitely. The book highlights a few: service, shared resource, subscription. Any key points there?
Yeah, for services, it stresses consistent quality and the constant need to find clients.
Makes sense. Always need the next project.
For shared resources, it's about the upfront cost of the asset and keeping it maintained.
Right, the gym equipment needs fixing.
And for subscriptions, you have to keep providing value month after month or people cancel.
Churn is the enemy there.
Exactly. So for the listener, the question is, which of these models fits your market best?
Or are there models you haven't even thought about trying?
Might unlock something new.
Okay, so we have a form of value. What other factors influence whether it'll actually work, economically speaking?
The book lists several key things to think about. Cost of value creation. How hard is it to make the thing?
Time, money, effort to produce it.
Right. Then cost of value delivery, getting it to the customer. Shipping, marketing, sales costs.
All the overhead.
Uniqueness. How special is it? Can competitors copy it easily?
Competitive advantage, yeah.
Speed to market. How fast can you get it out there?
Time is money.
Upfront investment. How much cash do you need just to start?
Barriers to entry.
Upsell potential. Can you sell customers more stuff later? Related offers.
Lifetime value.
And evergreen potential. How much work does it take to keep selling it? Does it need constant updates?
Passive income versus active work.
Right. Thinking through these helps you gauge the real potential and challenges.
It moves beyond just, is this a cool idea, to, is this a viable business?
Exactly. A much more rigorous assessment.
Now, related to viability, there's this idea called the mercenary rule. Sounds intense.
It does, but it's pretty straightforward, basically. Don't start a business just for the money.
Why not? Isn't that the point?
Well, yes, profit is essential, as we said, but building a business is hard. It takes a long time, lots of effort.
Setbacks happen.
Totally. If you don't actually care about the market or the problem you're solving, you're probably going to give up when things get tough.
You need some intrinsic motivation beyond just the cash.
Precisely. Find a market that genuinely interests you enough to stick with it.
And the book notes that even seemingly boring businesses can work if they match your interests.
Yeah, you don't need to be curing cancer or building rockets. A well-run plumbing supply business can be great if that's your thing.
Okay, so passion matters. Back to value. It has to be something people will pay for. This brings up the hassle premium.
Ah, yeah, the hassle premium. People will often pay more to avoid inconvenience or effort.
Like paying for grocery delivery.
Perfect example. Or pre-assembled furniture. You pay extra so you don't have to deal with the hassle yourself.
So finding those little frustrations, the tedious tasks people hate.
That can be fertile ground for a business idea. Solve the hassle, charge a premium.
This links directly to perceived value, right? How customers weigh the cost versus the benefit.
Exactly. The core idea is simple. People buy when they perceive the value of the offer to be greater than the value of the money they're giving up.
The scales have to tip in favor of the offer.
Right. And the book points out if the end result isn't that great, or if the customer has to do a ton of work to get it,
The perceived value drops.
significantly.
Yeah.
So you want a desirable outcome with minimal customer effort that maximizes perceived value.
Makes sense. Now, an interesting strategy mentioned is offering value in multiple forms.
Yeah, instead of just one package, maybe break it down.
What's the advantage there?
Well, it gives customers more choice. They can pick the format that suits them best.
Like software as a one-time purchase or a subscription?
Exactly. Or maybe a consultant offers coaching and online courses. It caters to different needs and budgets.
And it lets the business improve each part separately.
That too. You can tweak the course without changing the coaching structure. It makes things modular.
So think about, could you offer your value in different ways? What's the smallest useful piece in each?
Good questions to ask.
Okay, let's shift from planning to doing. Prototyping. The book really pushes this.
Yeah, build something quick and tangible, even if it's rough.
Why is that so important early on?
Because it gets your idea out of your head and into the real world. It lets you get actual feedback before you've spent ages perfecting something nobody wants.
Fail fast, learn fast.
Sort of, yeah. It's about testing assumptions cheaply. A sketch, a mock-up, a basic version. It makes the idea concrete for feedback.
And this feeds right into the iteration cycle. The book calls it wigwam.
Yeah, wigwam. It's an acronym for the process. Watch, ideate, guess, which act, measure.
Okay, break that down.
Watch, observe what's happening. Customers, market, competitors.
Get it?
Ideate. Brainstorm ideas for improvement based on what you watched.
Come up with possibilities.
Predict which of those ideas will have the biggest positive impact. Make an educated guess.
Form a hypothesis.
Which. Decide specifically which change you're going to implement. Choose one thing.
Focus.
Act. Actually make the change. Build the feature. Adjust the process.
Implement.
Measure. Track the results. Did it work? Did it have the effect you guessed?
Analyze the outcome. Watch. Ideate. Guess. Which. Act. Measure. Wigwam.
And the key is, it's a cycle. You loop back around.
Constantly improving.
Right. And the clearer your goal for each cycle, the better the learning.
How fast you go through that cycle matters too, right? Iteration velocity.
Hugely important. The faster you can go through Wigwam, the faster you learn, adapt, and improve your offer.
Reduces risk compared to just building the final version in secret.
Massively. You're getting feedback constantly, course correcting as you go.
Now, this iteration often forces you to make trade-offs.
Yeah. You can't do everything. Resources, time, money, people are always limited.
So you have to choose.
Exactly. A trade-off is deciding to prioritize option A over option B, because you can't have both right now.
And the book says, focus on what your best customers value.
Right. Don't try to please everyone. Figure out what your ideal customers care about most, and double down on delivering that, even if it means saying no to other things.
Make deliberate choices based on your target audience. Now, when customers evaluate offers, they weigh different economic values. The book lists 9 common ones.
Yeah, these are things people consider. Efficacy, does it work?
Effectiveness.
Speed, how fast does it work?
Quick results.
Reliability, does it work consistently?
Dependable.
Ease of use, is it simple to operate?
User-friendly.
Flexibility, can it be used in different ways?
Adaptable.
Status, does it make me look good?
Prestige.
Aesthetics, does it look good?
Design appeal.
Emotion, does it make me feel good?
Positive feelings.
And cost, what's the price?
The bottom line.
Right.
Efficacy, speed, reliability, ease of use, flexibility, status, aesthetics, emotion, cost.
And those trade-offs you make, they basically define where your offer stands on these values.
You might optimize for speed and ease of use, maybe sacrificing a bit on absolute efficacy if that fits your market.
Exactly. That's what gives your offer its unique flavor. To figure out which values matter most, the book suggests relative importance testing.
Okay, how does that work? It sounds technical.
It's actually quite clever. Instead of just asking people, is speed important, you give them choices.
Like, would you prefer option A, which is faster but costs more? Or option B, which is slower but cheaper?
Precisely. You simulate real-world trade-offs. Forcing them to choose reveals what they truly prioritize much better than just asking.
Because what people say they want isn't always what they choose.
Often isn't, yeah. This helps you focus development on the benefits that actually drive decisions.
Smart. Okay, shifting again, let's talk risk. Identifying critical assumptions.
Super important. These are the fundamental things that must be true for your whole idea to even work.
Like people are willing to pay for this, or we can acquire customers at this cost.
Exactly. If those assumptions are wrong, the whole thing collapses.
But you need to identify them early.
And test them. Don't just assume they're true. Test them quickly and cheaply to reduce risk. One way is shadow testing.
Shadow testing? What's that? Selling something that doesn't exist yet.
Kind of, yeah. But you're upfront about it. You describe the offer. See if people will actually commit to buying it before you build it fully.
So you're testing the most critical assumption. Will anyone actually pay for this?
Exactly. It's a powerful validation or a sign to pivot before sinking huge resources.
And then there's field testing too, before a big launch.
Right. That's about getting a working version, maybe still a bit rough, into the hands of real users in a real environment.
Finding bugs, getting usability feedback.
Yeah, it's part of that iteration cycle, refining it based on actual use before going wide.
Okay, makes sense. Now let's talk marketing. Getting the word out, big rule. Attention is limited.
Critically limited. Everyone's bombarded. You have to earn attention.
Now,
Be more interesting or more useful than the alternatives competing for your audience's time. Cut through the noise.
and not just any attention.
Right. You need the right attention. From your probable purchasers, people actually likely to buy.
Wasting attention on the wrong people doesn't help.
Nope. Which leads to receptivity.
Receptivity. What are the keys there?
Two main things. What and when. People are more open to certain types of messages.
The what?
At certain times or in certain places.
The when. Like, don't try to sell me complex software when I'm trying to relax on a Friday night.
Exactly. Understand when and where your probable purchasers are most likely to be receptive to your message.
And the best way to get attention is remarkability.
Yeah, make your offer worth remarking on, worth talking about.
How do you do that?
Design it to be interesting, surprising, novel, something that naturally piques curiosity and stands out. Don't just blend in.
Be inherently interesting.
Yeah.
And focus that remarkability on the probable purchaser.
Yes, always keep that ideal customer profile in mind. Who are they? What do they care about? Focus your efforts there.
Because most prospects start in a state of preoccupation.
Right. They're busy thinking about other things. Your message has to break through that.
Wow.
Provoke curiosity, surprise them, tap into a concern they already have, something to jolt them out of their routine.
Once you have that flicker of attention, focus on benefits, not features.
Yes, huge point. Features are what it does. Benefits are what it provides the customer.
The positive outcome.
Right. People buy the outcome, the solution, the feeling, usually linked back to those core human drives.
This drill bit is made of titanium, the feature. This lets you drill through tough materials easily and finish your project faster is a benefit.
Perfect example. Always translate features into benefits. This leads to qualification. Identifying and focusing on prospects who are actually a good fit. Do they have the problem you solve? Can they afford your solution?
Don't waste time on people who will never die.
Right. Increases efficiency, reduces wasted effort.
Okay, so you've qualified them. Now you need to build desire.
Make them want it. Visualization helps here.
How so?
Help them vividly imagine the better future state your offer provides. Paint a picture of their life with your solution. Make it feel real.
Appeal to the emotions, the aspirations, and framing is important too.
Very. Framing is how you present the offer, the angle you take, the aspects you highlight.
Like focusing on cost savings for one audience and time savings for another?
Exactly. Tailoring the presentation to resonate best while staying honest, of course. Put it in the best possible light for that prospect.
What about using free? The book touches on that.
Free is powerful for grabbing attention, no doubt. Lets people sample the value.
Right.
But attention isn't revenue. You need a path from free users to paying customers. Don't just attract freebie seekers if they'll never convert.
Focus on attracting potential paying customers with your free offer, which ties into permission.
Yes. Getting permission to follow up is way more valuable than just interrupting people.
Like getting an email sign up in exchange for a free guide.
Exactly. They've raised their hand, shown interest. Now you can nurture that relationship instead of cold outreach. Build that permission list.
And to grab that initial interest, you need a hook.
A single, concise phrase that nails the primary benefit. What's the core value? Why should they care? Needs to be sharp.
Communicates unique value quickly. Then, once hooked, a call to action.
CTA. Tell them exactly what to do next. Don't leave them guessing.
Click here, download now, call us today. Be specific.
Essential. Remove friction. Guide the next step.
Storytelling also helps make things memorable, right?
Hugely. Stories connect emotionally, make the benefits relatable, share customer successes, origin stories.
Makes the offer less abstract. The book also mentions controversy, briefly.
Yeah, it can grab attention, but it's risky, can backfire easily, needs careful handling, if used at all.
Trade carefully there. Ultimately, though, it comes back to the transaction.
Right. An exchange of economic value. That first profitable transaction is key. It turns a project into a potential business.
And no transaction happens without trust.
Foundation of everything. Build it through honesty, consistency, delivering value.
Which relates to finding common ground in negotiation.
Absolutely. Common ground is that overlap of interests. Where can both parties win? Finding that is key to a deal. Negotiation is about exploring options to get there.
And pricing. That pricing uncertainty principle is interesting. Prices are arbitrary.
To an extent, yes, they're malleable. The key isn't the number itself, but your justification, your reason why.
Why is it worth this much?
Exactly. If you can clearly articulate the value delivered, you can support the price.
How do you support it? The book gives 3 methods.
Market comparisons, see what others charge for similar things.
Benchmarking.
Discounted cash flow net present value, more complex, based on projected future earnings.
Financial modeling.
And value comparison, linking the price directly to the specific value the customer receives, often the strongest way.
Quantify the benefit for them. Got it.
Yeah.
What about price transition shock?
That's what happens if you change your price dramatically. Suddenly, you might attract a totally different type of customer.
Raising prices might bring in more serious clients. Lowering them might bring bargain hunters.
Exactly. It shifts who you appeal to. Be aware of that.
To sell effectively, there's value-based selling and education-based selling.
Value-based is about uncovering and highlighting the specific value this customer gets, tailoring the pitch.
Making it personally relevant.
Education-based is about making the prospect smarter, teaching them about the problem, the solution landscape, builds trust, positions you as an expert.
Helping them make an informed choice. Both sound effective. In negotiation, knowing your next best alternative is critical.
Your BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. What will you do if this deal falls through?
Knowing yours gives you confidence.
And trying to understand theirs gives you leverage. The side with the better BATNA usually has more power.
And having exclusivity helps too.
Big time. If you have something unique they can't get elsewhere, your negotiating position is much stronger. Easier to maintain high perceived value.
Less pressure to discount. Makes sense. What about those 3 universal currencies?
Resources, usually money, time, and flexibility. Negotiations often involve trading these off.
I can pay more if you deliver faster, or I need a lower price, but I can be flexible on the payment terms.
Exactly. And the 3 dimensions of negotiation: setup, preparation, structure, how you frame it, and discussion, the actual talk. Prepare well on all 3.
Preparation is key. The book mentions using a buffer and persuasion resistance.
A buffer could be a third-party negotiator. Reactance or persuasion resistance is that human tendency to push back against being sold to. Avoid sounding desperate or pushy.
Don't trigger their defenses,
Yeah.
but reciprocation can work for you.
Yes. Give value first advice, a small favor. People feel an urge to give back. Generosity builds goodwill.
Interesting. And a damaging admission.
Admitting a small flaw can actually build trust. Shows you're honest. Counterintuitive, but can work. Then, barriers to purchase. Objections.
The 5 big ones. Loss aversion. What if I regret it?
It won't work. Skepticism about the solution.
Won't work for me. Doubts about personal applicability.
I can wait. Lack of urgency.
It's too difficult. Complexity or effort barrier.
Knowing these helps you prepare answers, address the concerns proactively.
And strategies like risk reversal, offering guarantees.
Exactly. That directly tackles loss aversion, makes it safer for them to say yes.
And finally, reactivation.
Going back to past happy customers, it's often much easier and cheaper to sell again to someone who already trusts you than to find a totally new customer.
Don't forget your existing base. Wow. Okay, that was a very thorough deep dive.
We covered a lot of ground, from the 5 parts of a business through value creation, marketing, sales, negotiation.
All drawing from the core ideas in the personal MBA. It really does provide a solid framework.
It does. Lots of interconnected concepts that build on each other. Hopefully this gives listeners a good handle on the essentials.
Yeah, definitely encourage everyone listening to maybe take a moment after this. Think about how these ideas connect to what you're doing.
your job, your business ideas,
Hmm.
there's likely something applicable in there.
Absolutely. So to leave you with something to chew on, a final thought,
Okay.
considering that vast landscape of business principles we just talked about,
Hmm.
maybe think about this. What is one critical assumption you've been making in your own work or your own ideas
Hmm.
that you could actually test this week? Just one small test to see if that assumption holds water.
That's a great challenge,
Yeah.
moving from listening to doing.
Yeah.
Excellent.